Namaste, Hetep, Assalamu alaikum, Harun Nefer. This is Kasak Ma Kiparu with another video for you. In this video, I want to touch upon an old subject matter that I touched on many years ago called How to Become a Living God. But before I go into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. Also, we have free ebooks that expand more on my teachings. You can just click the links below, and we have about 4 or 5 ebooks. Download them right away and then start reading, and you'll get more in-depth knowledge besides this broadcast. Also, if you want to take that next level step in your journey of spiritual enlightenment, you can support us on Patreon. It's a very exciting platform where a lot of things are happening. And you can support us for as little as $1, $5, $20 a month. You can cancel at any time, there's no obligation. And you'll get exclusive access to a wealth of content, articles, instructional videos on how to meditate, hypnosis to lose weight, to attract wealth, to get rid of negative behavior or bad habits. Also instructional videos on how to invoke a spirit, how to travel back in time and project your consciousness, astral travel. So all that good stuff is on Patreon. So consider becoming a supporter. And also, if you have not already, think about getting your name changed or taking on an additional name. This is the Kinetic name is what I'm referring to. And it becomes your mantra, your word of power. And you can do that by going to my website, yourkineticname.com. And lastly, please share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. So welcome, namaste. So we have a very exciting subject matter here to talk about. And this is becoming a living God. And God said, let us make man in our own image. But it was just more than just an image. One of the great things that I stumbled onto when I began my studies into the Kemetic religion, and it's called Asar Aset, or the Osirian religion. Sometimes they call it the mythological story of Asar, and Isis, or Aset, the Osirian drama, which I think is a really wonderful name. But one of the things that I discovered in practicing, in studying the religion, was that apart from many other religions, which really focused on a very primitive aspect of just trying to get you to do good. Now, I've always said this, God does not give you brownie points for doing good. You don't go through heaven through the pearly gates for doing good. You're supposed to do good. This is assumed, you know. So bragging about how well you've treated your neighbor, how you didn't commit adultery, and so on, does nothing. You see, in spite of what these other religions tell you, Catholicism, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, you are not a sinful creature. See, the Osirian religion starts out from the point and perspective that you are a divine being. And because you're a divine being, you have access to God's powers, not in quantity, but quality. Okay? And because you are a divine being and essentially you are God, this means that you're not a sinful creature and that by nature you do the right things, you know? But unfortunately, because we live in a world that has been co-opted and controlled by 1% of the population, they own the wealth of the planet. They're hidden behind a shroud. They're cloaked, so you'll never see them. They are the very few that control the many. And one of the things that they were successful in doing was to build up our ego. Sigmund Freud said there's the id, the ego, and the superego. So they built up our ego, and the ego cuts you off from source, from God, from Nebuchadnezzar. And when you're cut off from God, you identify with the ego, the person, the physical body. And you think you are the physical body, but you're not. You are the indwelling intelligence. And our ancestors, apart from all the other religions, saw the great flaw of these other religions as they were rising and coming to fruition in ancient times. They said, it's not enough to do good, but you must aspire to be God or to be a God. And that's what we did. But we had to have an idol, a representation. So they came up with a personification of God as Osir. And Osir is the indwelling intelligence, God that resides within you. See, Osir is not an external God that exists apart from you out there in the clouds. He exists within you. And he is responsible for controlling all aspects of your body, your heartbeat, blood pressure, lungs. It's automatic. You don't have to think about these things. If you had to think about breathing, you would die. So Osir, the indwelling intelligence, controls all of this. And your goal in this lifetime is to resurrect Osir, which is what the main purpose of the Osirian drama was about. The whole idea was to resurrect the God within you. And you will see images of this in the obelisk or the phallus symbol, which is Osir's penis. And I'm not going to go into the story of Osir and Aset, which is the Osirian drama. You should read about that. And there are many different versions. You know, some have Osir and Isis, or Osir and Aset as brother, sister, husband, wife. You know, so it changes through the different dynasties in ancient Kemet, Egypt. But the brilliant thing that the Kamau people, the ancient Kemetan people, that they said we must aspire to be God. And in so doing, they constructed a spiritual, not a religious, a spiritual system that encompassed the mechanics of showing you how to awaken the divine intelligence within you. And no other system apart from the Indian system of yogi or yoga, if you are proficient, you become a yogi, which is one of the only other known systems that actually gave you a roadmap, the mechanics to how you can become a living God. You will not find that in the Christian religion. You will not find that in Islam. You will not find that in Catholicism. You will not find that in Judaism. Because those religions are plagiarized versions of the Asar Aset religion. And I want you to think about the brilliance and the intelligence of our ancestors because they dived deep into the human psyche. They dissected the mind. They dissected the afterlife to come up with a spiritual roadmap that could take you from what we call a sahu, meaning an individual that operates based on their animal instincts, to the level of a Ba man or an Osirian. And that is what your goal is. And not only did they have a system to do that, but they introduced within that system the oracles. And the oracles tapped into the divine wisdom of God. And not only did they encompass the oracles, it encompassed the 72 words of power, the yakal, the mantras, to give you the power of God. And this made it a complete system. Wait, there's more. Then they came up with the actual schematic of how this is supposed to work, what they call is the Port Netaru, or the tree of life. And you climb up and go down and climb up the tree of life. And while climbing up, you go through a series of initiations to where you awaken certain psychic centers, to awaken the powers within you. But Western man, in his ignorance, he's a child of the moon, he's a young guy, comes along and looks at the religion and calls it, well, he calls it pagan. He says they're polytheists, they worship many different deities. There's only one God, we're a monotheist. But you see, he, being a creature of the left brain, could not interpret what we codified in the Medunetta. He could not see it was the one coming as the all, and the all is the one. You see, Western man who thinks out of the left hemisphere of the brain does not know how to reconcile duality. That's a big problem from Western culture. This is why everything is a contradiction to them, an opposition. The Greek philosophers, when they wanted to come to an understanding of the truth, they said, well, to arrive at the truth, you must have a thesis, then an antithesis, which opposes the thesis, and then the synthesis will give you the truth. But the very notion of an antithesis is wrong, because you're saying that something opposes you. And our ancestors knew that. Our ancestors knew that within us, the indwelling intelligence, there was only one consciousness that gave the illusion of individuality, you see. And when they looked at the world around them, they named it and they said, this is the objective realm. And who you are in the very beginning, before space-time, was the subjective realm. And in that very beginning, there was only one you, and there still is only one you. And you, being powerful as a God, brought yourself into being. From the one became the two, and the two became the three, and the three is the Holy Trinity. And you did so to have an experience. See, when there's only one, there's nothing to interact with. So you may have infinite power and infinite wisdom, but you have no experience. So God said, I need experience. So God divided herself from the one, from the two. And then God looked back upon itself and for the first time saw itself, because it could now see a different perspective, because it was two now. And then the two became the three. And that's where we get the objective realm for. Everything that you see, all the objects are the objective realm. And it is only here to have an experience. See, God wants to experience all of this. So God creates humankind, and God says, I will place my consciousness within you, the shell of a body called Geb, so that you can interact with the objects to gain experience. And then information is going to be uploaded to your oversoul. And the oversoul will then store that information into the Akashic records. And God took it further. God said, I want to have all these experiences at the same time. So God said, I will make this creature called man, woman, multidimensional. So as I sit here, I sit in another dimension, and another dimension, and another dimension to infinity. And all of me to infinity is having an experience. There's a version of me who's poor. There's a version of me who's rich. There's a version of me who's evil. There's a version of me who is good. And all of those experiences are happening at this exact moment. Because there is no past, there is no future. There's only this moment that exists. And you are having all of those experiences to infinity instantaneously right now. This includes past lives, which we erroneously title past lives, but they're not past lives. They are all present lives because you're experiencing them now. Yes, as you sit here watching me, you are also a slave. You are also a Cometian, a Kamau in ancient Egypt. You are also in the Wild Wild West as a cowboy or cowgirl. You're having all of these experiences. See, the Kemetic people were the first people to understand the very fabric of what the universe is made of and what governs the universe. And they told us this by saying, as above, so below. They knew that the same principles that govern the moon, Jupiter, Pluto, Zeta Reticuli, those same principles govern you and are within you. And it took the Cometian sages a long time to map all of this out, to make it into something that would not conflict with science, because the religion is holistic. It takes into consideration the ecosystem. And what do I mean by ecosystem? That means that you must understand that you exist with other living creatures, other living things, and that your existence is not to violate their existence. So you must learn to live in harmony with all things. So we came up with a so-called religion, call it spirituality, that had an ecosystem where everything was harmonious. And then we call this cosmology. Western man cannot reconcile opposites. He looks at the female and he thinks, oh, she's less than me. He looks at black people, Asian people, they are less than me. Because the left brain cannot help but be separate. It separates, it labels, it defines, it categorizes. And when you're thinking out of the left brain, you have a very limited and skewed view of reality, and you create a sick reality. So our ancestors put all of this together in what we call is the company of gods. And every god or deity represented an aspect of you, represented an aspect of God. Tehuti or Jehuti is God's wisdom. Ptah, Sekert, is God's power. Ma'at is God's love. You see, we understood the principle of the one comes as the many, and we didn't see it as a contradiction. We didn't. It was all complementary elements that didn't encroach upon the other. They all worked in harmony. When the slave master came to the slave who was practicing their traditional religion of Yoruba, Voodoo, he said, listen, you don't need that. I'm going to give you Christianity. Take this image of Mary, and you're going to worship her. He came back a week later, and to his surprise, he looked at the altar, and there was Oshun, and next to him, her, was Mary. He says, wait a minute. I wanted you to stop worshiping your old religion to worship Mary. The two don't go together. In the African mind, he said, yes, they do. There's no contradiction. See how we think. See the brilliance of our minds, because innately we knew that things must work together in harmony. And not only that, but we started to understand the divisions of our spirit. We understood that there is the Sahu nature, which represents a majority of people on this planet. The Sahu nature is your animal instincts, your autonomous, your fight or flight reaction. People who are very emotional, impulse buyers, they are Sahu. This is why the ancient Kemetic people in their iconography represented people with animal qualities that you'll see the body of a human, the head of a jackal, or a snake, or a hippopotamus. Because we were indicating to you that these are Sahu people. They have not risen above their lowly animal instincts. And that is what the entire Osirian drama is about. Heru, the hero, Horus, trying to defeat Set, the animal instinct. See, people think Set was a real external being. Set was his uncle. Set was Heru's uncle. But metaphorically, he also stood in place for Heru's emotions, which he had to tame, which he had to conquer before he could sit on the throne of Kemet. So he battled Set at Benhutet, but in order to battle Set, he had to become Harukuhuti, god of justice, the warrior god, and he defeated Set. And he was then given the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt, the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. And the serpent in the middle representing the third eye, the third eye, the pineal gland. And let me clarify this so we don't get this twisted. It is not enough that we become a planet of integrated brain thinkers. Yes, you hear me talk a lot about integrating the right brain, because when you become a right brain thinker, the right brain is congregative, or it's synthesis. So it automatically will work with the left hemisphere of the brain. So it is not enough to have dual brain thinking, but you must awaken your third eye. That is a must. Do you understand what I'm saying? And in our modern education system, they don't train you to use your third eye. In fact, everything they teach you is by rote memorization. They want you to perfect that. And that violates the idea of the third eye, the intuition, to intuit wisdom and knowledge. Intuit wisdom and knowledge. Because you are supposed to be able to go within for knowledge, not to go without, to books, to libraries, to Google. No, 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 no. You are God. You know, they were studying the black hole, right? Stephen Hawkins said that once you get to the event horizon, information is then stored in the black hole. So we now know that all information is not discarded. Nothing is destroyed. What makes you is going to be stored in the Akashic records and not forgotten. That data, and that's exactly what it is data, is captured and stored. So in addition to become left and right hemisphere brain thinkers, you must now awaken the third eye. But there's one more thing to add into the equation that our ancestors saw. You must become a Ba man. You must become an Osirian, meaning you must conquer your emotions. So you must rise above your Sahu nature to become an Ab man, AB, and then a Ba man. So the Kemetian people, our ancestors, said, wow, we've got to map all of this out. We'll call it the Port Netru, the tree of life. And when they mapped it out, they were, for the first time in history, given the world a process and plan for becoming God. Do you understand? You don't become God by merely doing good things. You're a saint. You're so good. That's not anything to be impressed by. You're supposed to be good. In fact, the archetype, the role model of Jesus, is supposed to be what you should be. You should be able to walk on water, turn water into wine. You're supposed to have those powers, not an external personified or external person. No, you. This is why God said, I am. I am that I am. Oh, Joven, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. I'm glad to see you're teaching the Port Neteru. Why is there so few teachers of Shekamu teaching here on YouTube? Keep up the good work. Thank you. It is essential that you understand this. This is why all other religions have failed. How could a religion such as Christianity go out there and proselytize and talk about how great it is, yet commit such a horrendous act of slavery? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Well, when you're dealing with this segregative faculty, the left brain, it can separate committing atrocities, and also going to church on Sunday and being godly. See, the left brain has no morality. It's the right brain that you'll find the seat of morality. Ma'at. So when you are practicing a religion created by left brain individuals and the practitioners are left brain, you're going to get the world you see around you screwed up. Our job, my magi's, is to bring balance back to the planet, to let everyone know that we must incorporate the moon. See, we are practicing the sun. The sun is the symbol of the left brain. The moon is a symbol of the right brain. The sun and the moon must work together. Secker tells us a place for everything and everything in its place. We're out of balance because we're focused primarily on the sun, the left brain. The ruling elite does not want you to understand the right brain. This is why they don't want prayer. They don't want meditation in classrooms. This is why they don't like hypnotherapy. This is why they pay all of these preachers and ministers to say vile, nasty things about non-Western religions. Oh, they're pagan, they're of the devil. How do you know that? Has any Western, I defy you, has any Western religion on this planet, non-Western religion, engaged in slavery? No. Started wars, world wars? No, but Christianity has. Christianity is responsible for the witch hunts. Christianity is responsible for World War I, II. Christianity is responsible for the North Atlantic slave trade. Christianity is responsible for racism because last time I checked, the Klan says they're a Christian organization. See, you can't do that in the Osirian spirituality, the system, because it is a way of life. It is how you live. It is how you breathe, which is why we don't call it a religion. It's spirituality. Because when you start and end with the idea of that you're God, that's a high model to aspire to be. And in our system, we encompass meditation, hypnosis, which we call trance, because that is the only way to change behavior. You see, you don't change behavior through speeches, through lectures, through sermons. That's talking to the left brain. That's not the seat and motivator of your behavior. It's the right brain that controls your behavior. This is why in our system is heavily weighed toward the practice of trance. And we also knew that the right brain was the key to going into different dimensions, to interacting with the dead, the deceased, and also different spirits and different beings, and to astral travel to different planets. See, they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to touch that. Why do you think DMT and ayahuasca are illegal? Those are medicines that we used in antiquity, but they're illegal now because everyone who has experienced that medicine has said the same thing. It has cured me of my depression. It was a life-changing experience. It killed my ego, and I felt connected to everyone in the world. Do you know how dangerous that is? To take some medicine that will disable the ego so that you can feel oneness with all living things and profound love. That's why it's illegal. This is why the ruling elite pumps out frequencies and creates electromagnetic fields that enhance the left brain because they don't want that right brain working properly. They've got to kill it. Because if you start experimenting with that right brain, you may nullify the ego and you may have an enlightening experience. And then you'll realize who the real enemy is. You take a bunch of Klansmen, take the Grand Wizard of the KKK, give him some ayahuasca. I guarantee you his perspective on everything will change. This society is constructed to feed the ego, to feed the left brain, to kill your third eye, the ucha, to cater to the sahu nature in us. The very religions do that. And these people are so ignorant and they believe they're so right. Dangerous combination, arrogance and ignorance. And that's what we're dealing with here with these ministers who get on the pulpit, talk about how God has blessed them. God hasn't blessed you. You get a good con game going. That's what you got. And you go around and you lie to the masses. I'm reborn. I feel happy. You see, we knew on the Kinetic tree there was a deity that governed happiness. Her name is Heteru. And she said joy is in the journey and not the destination. And she had a mantra that if you recite the mantra, it invokes joy within you. But these cartoon characters we call priests and ministers come along and lie to you and say, all you got to do is be born again, accept Jesus Christ, and you'll be happy and smiling every day. I don't think so. That's not how your biology works. Now let's take a look at the Port Neteru, or as we call it, the Kinetic tree of life, shall we? We get a full screen there. Okay, and this is the translation is the company of the gods. And let us take a look further. You start out at the very bottom, Geb. Geb is the earth. Geb is your physical body. And we have the Kab and the Kahabit. Now, this is the electromagnetic forces, the atoms and the molecules that govern the lower nature of you. As you climb up, you work on Aset, Heteru, and Sebek. Sebek is left brain. Sebek is logic. He's information. He's segregative thinking. Heteru is congregative thinking. She deals with the imagination, social harmony, joy, artistic expression. Aset is trance. She's also devotion because she's devoted to her son, Haru, nurturing him to become, when he gets of age, he can battle Set. So when you first start out, you're using your lower aspect. You're using Sebek, Heteru, and Aset. It's automatic, that lower trigram, because we all go into trance on a daily basis. Trance is just your daydreaming, your imagination. And then you have a visualization, which is Heteru. And then along with that is a belief system, an idea. That can empower your will, which is the sixth sphere on the tree of life. Haru is your will. You want to stop eating so much? Go into trance, visualize yourself not eating, and give yourself the proper truism or affirmation. That will empower your will. Now, all of this is Sahu. As we rise up, we get to Ma'at and Harukahuti. Ma'at is truth, justice. Harukahuti is divine justice, executioner or enforcer of the law. He's analytical thinking. Ma'at is synthetical thinking or synthesis. And when you are operating based on truth, and the whole meaning about Haruka says he's able to cut his head off. What that means is that he separates himself from his person. You see, when you need to do battle with your lower half, you need to separate yourself from your emotions and understand that the emotions are not who you are. You are not the emotions. You are apart from that. You are God. And when you reach this level to where you can separate yourself from emotions and you live truth, you become an ab person. But there's still more. As you go up the tree even further, you meet Tuhuti or Jehuti or Thoth, and then Sekert. Tuhuti is God's wisdom. He's the oracle. And Sekert is God's spiritual power. When you get to this level, you become a walking and living oracle. You intuit wisdom, you intuit knowledge through your third eye, Tahuti. In the battle where Horus, was fighting Set, he could never defeat Set. It always ended in a stalemate. When he went to Tahuti for counsel, Tahuti gave him his third eye, symbolized by the right brain. And when he got that third eye or started thinking more right-brained, he was able to defeat Set and sit on the throne of Kemet. Sekert is God's power. This is spiritual power. Now, I want to make a difference here so that you can see it very clearly. Below here, when you start working on juju, black magic, voodoo, you're working on the lower aspects. This is a power that is available to anyone. Anyone can practice voodoo. Anyone can practice Santeria by mixing herbs, casting spells. However, when you get to the level of Sekert, you have God's power, and it's a very immense power. And God doesn't give that power to just anyone because you have to first get through Ma'at. You have to pass Ma'at's tests. You must prove that you are living truth. And not only that, you must prove that your actions are in harmony with the good of the whole, the ecology. God is not going to make or make available his power to just anyone. And then the next level is you become Oser, you become Ba. Oser is the personification of God. a living God. You become God on earth. But there is another level. There is Amen, the hidden, that which cannot be seen, that which cannot be perceived. It is a consciousness. You can only attain this level of Amen once you pass on. But while you exist in this fourth dimensional plane we call Earth, Geb, you become Oser. Does that make sense? And this is the roadmap that our ancestors left for us so that we could spiritually evolve to become the greatest versions of ourselves. And the Kinetic people were so brilliant. They knew that there was a difference between the self and the person. The person is made up of your conditionings or patterns of thinking. Your conditionings are your emotions. The person likes things, the person dislikes things. But the self, which is really you, consciousness, cannot be swayed by emotions. It doesn't like or dislike anything. It is free. It is a free will. It is not conditioned. That is why Oser is seen as the judge, because to be a judge, to preside over someone's life or death situation, you must be impartial. You cannot be swayed by emotions. That is why the ancient Kamal depicted the iconography of Oser as a mummy to be still, holding the crook and the flail. Notice he is in the center. So, starting out, you already have access to 9, 8, and 7, those spheres. You can readily use them at any time to practice magic. You do it automatically. I've always talked about this, that you are a reality generating machine. You generate the reality that you see before you using 9, 8, and 7. Let me say that again. Everything that you see around you in this fourth dimensional experience, you're already generating using Aset, Sebek, and Heteru. Your goal now is to get to 1, 2, and 3, the upper trigram. When you arrive there, you have access to unbelievable power. You will be of service to all humanity. All humanity. Kasank, does that mean white people too? Yes, all humanity. Kasank, does that mean women too? Yes, all of humanities. All right? And when we refer to the Supreme Being, we call him, her, Nebuchadnezzar, Lord of the world, Lord of all. The closest system that is complete is the Kabbalah, but no other religious system has come close to duplicating this because they all operate from a left brain perspective and they do not include trance meditation in their doctrines, in their practice. This is why you'll see that a Muslim can proclaim to be for Muhammad, for Allah, but still do wrong because that system, that religion, does not have built into it an ability to control the emotions, control the lower half, the Sahu nature. Does that make sense? And not only that, my beloved, we have within our grasp the ability to know right and wrong because we know that Western society has disabled our third eye, our ability to see what cannot be perceived through normal means. So where you're supposed to be, a walking oracle, that aspect that's connected to God's wisdom, the Akashic records, is broken. And it was tampered with on purpose by the ruling elite. They don't want you to see spirits. They don't want you to connect to God's wisdom and God's power. So they had to calcify the pineal gland. But now, in place of that, you can still access God's wisdom because our ancestors left us the great oracle of Tahuti, which you see before you. Within this oracle system is a very, very complex and well-rounded process of how to manifest what you desire. Because when you go to this oracle and you ask a question, God Tahuti, how do I obtain this car? How do I get this house? How do I adopt that child? When you do the reading, not only does it give you a specific answer to your question, Haruatep, within this is hidden. It gives you the mantra, the herbs. It gives you the spiritual direction. It gives you all the details of what you need to do to perform a ritual to invoke the energy so that you could realize your desire. Ask any question and be prepared for the answer. And then once you receive that answer, follow the directions on doing the ritual and watch the thing that you want become attracted to you through the law of attraction, if that's what you subscribe to, or manifest before you. See, no other system, not the tarot, okay, not pendulums, will give you the exact color the deity likes, the exact food the deity likes, the exact direction you must do your ritual in, the time of day, the day of the week, the correct herbs, the correct incense. This oracle tells you all of that on how to appease the deity, how to petition the deity to grant you your wish. It even gives you your truisms, what you must say to open up that center, the aspect within you, so you can attract what you want, what you desire. It is that simple. Now, if you're looking for fortune telling, you can go to the tarot. And the tarot may say, no, you're not going to get this. But when you come to the great oracle of Tahuti, Tahuti may say, no, there's a likelihood of you not getting it, but here's a mantra, here's a ritual that'll turn that around so that you will get it. See the difference? Oracle of Tahuti wants to help you. And it helps you by not telling you a definitive answer, yes or no. It says, hey, you know what? It's likely that you may not get this. But if you do this ritual on this day and you recite this mantra, you'll get it. I don't know, but this sounds like a good deal to me. And this is the wisdom and the knowledge that our ancestors left to us. You see, my person gets sad because what we have here is a failure to communicate. just kidding, is a very rich spiritual system. All other people on the planet fight to the death to maintain their culture and their religion. We have allowed this to fall into the hands of the ignorant, of the criminals. We have allowed them to go to ancient Kemet or Egypt, the temples in Egypt, the pyramids in Egypt, and raid the temples to sell off the artifacts. And we've done nothing. We just let them do it. You go try to do that with the Muslims and see what happens. They'll kill you. We don't protect what's ours. We don't hold sacred. Every time I do a reading, I say the prayer, Hail Tahuti, making victorious Asar over his enemies on the night that of battle, and the making the feathering of the Sabahu, day that destroying the enemies of Nebuchadnezzar, night that of making to stand the Jet and Jetu. Salutation of power, Father, Mother, Supreme Being, who comes as Tahuti. My heart belongs to you. I say the sacred prayer, and then I ask my question. I treasure this religion or this spiritual system. I treasure this spiritual system. Had some guy once, a good friend, I'll leave you with this, send me an email saying that, hey, you know, I thought I knew you, but you're a charlatan. You're out there preaching this nonsense, you know, and don't you ever send me an email like this again. And I guess he was on my email list. And I was polite, and I said, well, you can really, take yourself off the email. There's a link at the bottom where you can remove yourself, but I'll do it. Looking back, I should have cursed him out. I said, this is my religion. This is my way of life. This is my spirituality you're talking about. If I had sent you something about Christ, Krishna, or Allah, would you have said the same thing? No, you wouldn't. So there is a disrespect that is shown to our people and our religion, and that has to stop, and the buck stops with us. We have to stand up and say, this is our spirituality. We don't like you co-opting our culture. We don't like you taking it and perverting it. And every woman out there, black or white or whatever, if you are practicing the Osirian religion, you must teach it to your children and have it passed on to their children. Stop the foolishness. Take what's ours. Take it back. Live it. Breathe it. And God will grant you abundance beyond measure. Nikki, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. So, my beloved, that is all I have to say. Take back what belongs to us. If we don't, they will continually pervert it, call it theirs, and they know it's not theirs. They know it's not theirs. They'll make movies about it. They'll lie about it. I watch these specials in Egypt all the time, and I just shake my head at how they get everything wrong. But they do it on purpose to confuse the masses. They don't want you to know the real system of how the real magic works. Understand the power that you have before you and treasure it. Because if you don't treasure it, someone else will. This is Kazank Maat Keparu, son of Maat and Tahuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Hedaru. Till my next broadcast, Amin Ra.